consequences. Phillip, good morning, and a very long introduction here because you have a lot of things to answer this morning.
Okay, so good morning, Emma. Good morning, Trinidad. First off, this notion that Faris Al-Rawi wants to paint people as controversial characters, he's really out of place to do that, and I'll put a pin in that for now and get back to it. Propaganda is the use of information to promote an agenda, an idea.
Are you a UNC propaganda machine?
Before you ask that question, when Faris comes on your show yesterday, he comes to defend and promote the PNM's agenda.
Well,
yes?
he is the PR of the PNM.
Exactly.
And he's invited in that.
Public relations and propaganda is the same thing, it's just different words. It's just different words, how you want to call it. They have jokes about what you could play on words. And when Faris comes on your show in the morning, his job is to share PNM agenda, PNM ideology, PNM propaganda. Anybody who defends the United National Congress or the People's Partnership, his job is to smear them and make them sound like they're doing the same thing he's doing, They're defending their political party. They're defending their government.
But, Phillip, with all respect, people think that he's clean, that he fights a clean fight. That you don't see pictures coming out of the PNM camps that's similar to the memes coming out of the UNC camps.
That is not true. And let me tell you something, I can expose a lot of people, and I want to tell you something. This morning, the former youth officer of PNM, using my picture that I had to put out, I lost a bet in the World Cup.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah, so, and I had to live up to my word, because I'm a man of my word, so I had to take that picture of me in a dress and a wig. And the PNM, they can behave with that, but it was all in fun. And I mean, there comes a time when we have to ask the question, what's politics and what's personal and how to, Yesterday, Faris was on your show and he calls me a fat stooge. He's like he's losing it.
No, come on.
And you shut him down.
No, I just said if you're not there to defend it. Similarly, I will not allow you to attack Senator Rowley as well.
I never do. I never get into ad hominem attacks. That's what he does. He is captain ad hominem. Let me tell you something. My cell phone lit up like a Christmas tree. WhatsApp, text, Facebook, people saying, Faris calling up your name again on Hema's show.
Well, you are identified as one of the key persons in the UNC's camp.
I'm not in the UNC's camp. I defend this government. I defend Kamala Prasad Bises's government. I defend the People's Partnership because I want to. I think they're doing fantastic work. I give them a lot of licks early in their career. I give them a lot. I wrote 1 million words. And I gave them a lot of licks because predominantly I was against some of the characters that were in the government that are no longer there. But before you go to the news, I want Faris, because I know he's watching, I want him to see this. I said, and I'm a man of my word.
They say that imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Okay, well, you may say that. I want to tell you something, I accept that. But the last time I was on your show, right after Faris, I said, the next time I come, I will have one of these. So I went yesterday in the mall to get this. And if you'll allow me, I bought this, it's $125. And I asked them, what is it? This is a pocket square.
It is a pocket square.
I said, what's a pocket square? No, but I asked the girl at Solomon's in Westmore, I asked her, nice place, real nice stuff. I said, what's a pocket square? She said, don't serve no purpose, it's just flair. And at that moment, I understood Faris Al-Rawi's role.
Let's not take it personal. No, we're not going to do that here.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I understood now what this does. I understood it.
It's a fashion statement in the birth of the Metro Man, which many people in your party. No, but there are many people in your party that wear it, but we're not going to go down that level.
That's just a joke. But you allow him to make his joke, you allow me to make mine. It's all in good taste. I mean, Trinidadians need to understand. I mean, I was telling you when we were off here, Faris and I almost related through marriage, and he's married to a family that I am related to. So it's not like we out waiting.
Well, isn't that you're just being sensitive?
Not even a little bit, but how could you say that when he gets so much time to say so many things that I am not allowed to respond to, I'm not allowed to counteract, and I just let most of it go. Faris stands up in the Senate and uses the word ad hominem, prior to and after him attacking people personally. That's what ad hominem means, attacking people personally.
But politics is an adversarial art.
And I accept that. But you can't be in the fighting, and then complaining if other people fighting. Faris is upset, Maxine Coffey upset, because while Keith Rowley was on his legs in New York, we got pictures that there were 10 people in the church.
Is that a true representation? Because also I saw Someone commented that you don't know if this picture is real, you don't know if it's true, and even when I asked them,
we posted 27 pictures from 27 views. We posted pictures of Diane Malview chasing and Marlene McDonald, and they were all of them there. Hema, it was. The PNM supposed to...
I'm sure that was not the only meeting that he had.
They only showed one in a very tiny restaurant that was packed. But again, that's about 12 people, and I'm saying to you, the PNM's problem is not the People's Partnership, you know. The PNM's problem is the popularity of their own leader, and it's damaging the party. And you have to accept this. Their last big anti-government march, were it not for OWTU workers, it buzzed. And then they had a march where they went to join the JTUM Labor Day March, and there was revolt among the ranks, and unions were pulling out. Now, inside the OWTU, Ansel Roger is being challenged. And his latest, whatever, that was supposed to be at King George V Park to go to the Prime Minister's office, what people went 10? The PNM needs to deal with that.
But you know, this use of the term propaganda, Phillip, and I have to ask you, personal attacks, and they to say that persons in the government camp are guilty of personal attacks and vicious attacks.
This is a government that is under constant scrutiny, under constant attack. Every single member of this government is afraid now of what's going to come out. People don't even need evidence anymore. They can just come out and say stuff and let it go. You know, it's now in the public domain. You could go on a campaign and hack emails and read stuff. What Camille Robinson Regis read was
I know that matters with your lawyers, right?
Well, yes, but half of the letter that she read was what was a communication with Rodney Charles and the UNC, and the other half was a communication between myself and Ram Mulal.
So maybe Rudy Munilal gave it to her. What's to say that didn't happen?
So you're saying that he gave her Rodney Charles on too? I don't know the source of the information, but then I read Ken Ali in the interview with Asha Javi trying to understand how they have that information too.
Okay, so we're going to go straight to the 7 o'clock news, and when we come back, we will continue this discussion. Stay with us. The UNC propaganda machine.
Why would I be in charge of a UNC propaganda machine?
So why are they always identifying you as a defender of the government?
Because
why have you always identified?
No, you know,
but not only by the PRO, by several other persons.
No, but you see, I want to tell you something. And the moment the talk started to rumble that I might be considering or considered as a challenger for Diego Martin West, all of a sudden my name became sweet in PNM's mouth. From Camille Robinson Regis, Keith Rowley, Ashton Ford, Faris Al-Rawi, all of a sudden.
But you put yourself in the public domain.
A friend of mine found me on Facebook. I knew her about 100 years ago. And I asked her, how you find me? She said, you're not hard to find. Your name in everybody mouth on Facebook. Why is Faris doing that? Faris is the PRO.
But this is not a...
PRO.
Yeah, but as the PRO, he also must highlight, and this is not about personalities, but if he is sitting in his capacity as a PRO, he must highlight what he thinks are questionable.
But he is the actual elected head of the PNM propaganda machine. But if somebody responds and defends the government, it's propaganda.
You think what you all are doing is defending and defending the government?
We continue to ask the PNM to debate on issues. We ask them to stop the ad hominem attacks. We ask them to stop the...
But they're saying that you all are guilty of these attacks.
But why doesn't Faris prove this?
Let's stop personalizing it.
No, but why doesn't he or they come with evidence and say, look what we're talking about? Because us providing information to the public of Trinidad and Tobago right after the PNM denigrated the Prime Minister for going to Brazil. Keith Rowley jumps on a plane to go to New York, and your thing bust. But all the PNM want to do is bad talk the Prime Minister. She stormed the World Cup. She gave Brazil bad luck. How her grandchild wearing a Spider-Man mask. I mean, I've read this, the nastiest things come out of the PNM camp. We can't even answer. How do you defend somebody attacking somebody's grandson, a little boy, for wearing a Spider-Man mask? Do you go down in the gutter with them? Because that's where it is.
Well, they're saying they didn't think it was appropriate protocol.
Children are children. Read the Bible, suffer little children that come unto me. Jesus Christ didn't say, or any of the other religious leaders didn't say, dress your children appropriately. And the little child was well dressed. He had on a Spider-Man mask. Oh, gosh.
Now, we're also looking at the Voice newspaper that has been linked to this thrust that the partnership is putting in place.
Because they wouldn't say that the Voice newspaper is pro-people's partnership. They'll say it's a propaganda machine. Yet I write a column in the Weekly Mirror every single week for years, 6 years. And that newspaper, the entire newspaper, is anti-People's Partnership, anti-UNC. I write the only supportive column in that newspaper and take a lot of licks first. Now there is a newspaper, The Voice, that supports the government, supports the People's Partnership. And what I found funny is reading the online edition of that other newspaper. They put out 3 stories. They put out 3 stories.
But they raised a number of questions.
And you know what? Let's deal with the questions. But first of all, the subtext of Asha Javid's column, story, was that it's not selling. Nobody wanted, nobody want to work there. Nobody interested in it. They can't give the paper away free. They run a list of companies that wouldn't accept it at their security gates. And I asked a question, because my mind works like this. If that is true, why is this a story? If it is true, just let me ask this question. If the Voice newspaper is really dead, isn't she protesting too much? What is the point of the story?
They raised a number of questions about the hiring practices, about the treatment of staff, and as well as of the use or the misuse of government funds. I think Senator Raleigh also asked about the full-page ads.
Okay, but let's deal with them one at a time. When they started off, they were running one of my columns, and I personally chose to step back. I have issues. I have been public with my issue of I don't think Ken Ali is the right man to be running CNMG, and I certainly don't think he's the right man to be running The Voice.
Is he the person running The Voice?
From what I reliably understand, yes, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I asked yesterday, why are we playing hide and seek? If there's an editor-in-chief, somebody step up and say, I am doing the job. I wish it was me. They have so many good journalists in this country that I know that I deal with on a daily basis that would gladly come and write for any credible newspaper, whether it be pro. And there's nothing wrong with a bias, you know. Just state your bias.
Well, in the U.S., they state their bias.
State your bias. Fox News is Republican, MSNBC is Democrat. State your bias. There's nothing wrong with a bias because your supporters...
Well, Trinidad media prides itself on being an independent democratic institution.
I don't think...
Unbiased and objective.
I don't even want to answer that. But let's go back to the issue of The Voice newspaper. Why attack a paper that you see in your story is dead? It makes no sense.
But the paper's entire edition was about their newspaper. So therefore they felt the need...
So now there's 2 newspapers fighting a war. Well, I get into that. But I think it's badly handled. Honestly, I think it's badly handled.
But you think but they dedicated an entire
every time I come on your show, I will tell you, the one thing that the People's Partnership does badly is communication. They do a terrible job, and everybody
because the entire Voice was about the Express newspaper.
I want to tell you something. You know what? That is between them. I can't get into that because that's not my job. I have no dog in that fight. The reality of the situation is if the Express wants to be anti-government and the Voice wants to be pro-government, duke it out. Duke it out. I think, personally, the Voice benefited from a lot of free exposure. So people who didn't know there was a Voice newspaper now knows about it, and maybe that would help that. I think they need
Do you think it's the misuse of government resources?
I don't know if government resources being used.
Advertising spaces being used.
But advertising space is used in all media. So why, if something supports the government, blank them for government funds? Why? Why does that make sense? In whose mind?
Now, also there were questions about, this is work for cash in an email. Hunter explained the decision was difficult. The paper has nothing to do. I was interviewed by Sasha Mohammed. After 3 months, no contracts offered, no NIS payments. I'm being paid cash like a criminal. I've received no payments.
Okay, I don't know why being paid cash is a criminal thing, but I want to say this. It's a brand new paper, and to come into the media environment in Trinidad, especially in this hostile, highly charged election fervor time, is going to be difficult for anybody. It's easy. I remember when I used to be not a supporter of the People's Partnership. Hey, if I write a grocery list, it was published.
Why did you become a supporter?
We will answer that. Just put a thing out for a second. If I wrote a grocery list on Facebook, it was published in every newspaper. Because Phillip Alexander said it, and it was lashing the government. But the moment I say, you know what, I think this government is delivering. I am first and foremost a social and political activist. That's what I do. And I think this government is delivering. And I want to ask Faris and all the other people who speak for PNM.
Yes, so we'll take Senator Rowley, not personal.
Well, he's a PRO. I have to ask him. He's a PRO. I want to ask their political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley. I want to ask Ashton Ford. I don't know what role he plays there anymore. Start to talk P&M policy.
But you heard him talking P&M policy.
What
In
policy?
the clips, he spoke about the P&M's crime policies. He says that they delivered.
No, what he said was the NOC is a representation of SORT. The NOC is nothing like SORT. SORT was a bandwagon. NOC is a combination of all state law enforcement response machinery under one focused element, and it works, and it is working. But talking P&M policy is not coming on the news or on talk shows and bad talking the government policy. Just advance your policy. Say that if I were in government, when we are in government, if ever we are lucky and fortunate enough to form the government, a P&M central bank policy would be this. A P&M crime policy would be that. We're not getting any of that. The closest we came was Steve Rowley dusting off Vision 2020, rebranding it Vision 2030.
Do you think Vision 2020 was such a bad document?
I think that
I've read the document.
I did as well, and I think that the ideals that Vision 2020 espoused was lost in translation. I believe that this government is doing more Vision 2020 than the last government. I think this government's policies are people-centric, and that was what was needed. Trinidad needed a crime, housing, jobs, education policy. What Fazal Karim has done in 4 short years, that man needs to be knighted. Trinidadians are now able, and people need to know this.
But if they're doing, there's a school of thought that let me not expose all of my principles, let me not stand up and beat my chest and
That's
say,
what the government agrees.
let me not say,
They agree
oh,
with
look at me, this is a do. But people will feel it. If people look at the show, they'll be like, this is an intelligent show to look at in the morning.
You know what?
I don't need to say that.
You're right, and that's how the government believes. The government
has voted with the government more than any other opposition that has ever existed in the country, in the history of this country.
The workload being put forward by this government is ridiculous. The PNM has no choice. How many times you're going to walk out of Parliament? How many times you're going to vote against it? The people seeing work after work after work. The job is being done. We don't speak about the 78 or 88 long-standing agreements, negotiations that were outstanding, that were taken place and dealt with by this Minister of Labour. We talk about what Watson Duke is doing by the immigration, and it's causing people stress. But Trinidadians need to understand what we focus on grows. If we're seeing good government, if we're seeing work being done, we also need to talk about that. And HEMA, the media has a part to play. You asked me a question earlier. Why is it such a highly charged atmosphere? The media allows certain excesses to take place, and if they don't rein themselves in, that will become the tenor of the national conversation. We will stop talking policy. There are issues that need to be addressed. We've been proposing for years, since Manning was Prime Minister, make all schools 10-year schools. Forget this SEA nonsense. Your child goes into school from